Hi everyone and welcome to Don't Crop Me Now. This is Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
We're going to do a full tour of our two plots today. So that's one full plot and one half plot. It's nearly just about planted up. We've still got parts to finish on the polytunnel and the chilli greenhouse. So we're starting here over on plot 5B. And as you can see, the greenhouse is currently standing empty. That's because we've got a lot of chilli plants that I've been nurturing since January at home that are now in our greenhouse at home, and they are going to get potted up into there into some self-watering pots, and that's one of the jobs for the rest of the week. So on plot 5B, we've got these cold frames. It's just got a few bits and bobs in. These are mainly plants that I've actually promised to friends that are waiting to collect them in the main really, and a few little lavender plants that I'm going to expand our lavender border with. So if we have a look on the beds on 5B, then I just need to plant a few more courgettes to fill this space. Unfortunately, it's quite a bit of mare's tail on this bed in particular, so I have to keep pulling that out. There is an article on our website about managing mare's tail because it is one of the weeds that people get a bit panicky about. So don't worry too much. It is pretty easy to manage if you keep on top of it. So I need to finish planting some courgettes there. We've got overwintering onions and shallots that are starting to bulk out and do quite well at the back. And then most of these beds are now planted. So we've got some sweet peas here that have just got the first blooms on, which look lovely. You see there. If we walk over to this bed, here is parsnips, which we actually had really poor germination on our parsnips the first time round. So these were sown direct quite late, so I'm sure we'll still get a crop from those. And I'll probably stick in the other side of these sweet peas. I'll probably put something there, maybe some lettuce or something just to fill the space. Under this veggie mesh, we have got leeks, which have only been planted out a few days. So you can see they're quite small. The veggie mesh is to protect them from leek moss, because we have a really bad problem with leek moss on our grounds. And to be honest, the last few years, they've just been decimated as soon as you plant them out within a week. So hopefully that should do the trick. And we also have some Swedes. And these are netted mainly because of the pigeons, because they love all brassicas. Here we've got a bed full of beetroot, so that's just starting to grow. This is multi-sown beetroot, so at each station there'll be like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 beetroots that come out of there. So as you can see, well, we put a lot of our own homemade compost on. We get loads of these little squash type seedlings that are coming up this year. I'll just pull them out, not too bothered about them, but they obviously survived our composting process. We've got some kohlrabi here, which again are covered because of the pigeons in the main. And then we've got the rest of this plot is all about mainly climbing beans that are predominantly for drying. So here we've got peas. They're netted because of pigeons, and they're doing pretty well climbing up there. Actually look really good. Some different types of beans for drying. So there's some dwarf ones there, and then these are 2 different types of runner beans, which are now climbing really well. And then under the net at the back there are some dwarf type peas, and at this end some mange too. These 2 remaining beds are various types of climbing French beans. So as you can see, they're all climbing pretty well. So that's looking pretty good. And then the last thing we've got on here is a strawberry bed, and I think I can spy a few ripe strawberries actually on it. Quite a lot. Wow, I've not really looked at this. So look at those. I would have to get a pick in them, I think. In fact, there's absolutely loads in there. I'm just going to get that one right now. This one. There we go. That's great. I'll just take this on. Tastes really good. Oh, they are good actually, really sweet. So that is 5B. So if we now move on to 4, oh actually just show you this last bit on the end here. We've got this poly frame which does have doors on, but I get to use the doors over there to cover up the peas. So once those peas grow a bit more, I'll put a bigger netting structure over those and put these doors back on. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in here. I was thinking about some sweet potato slips if I can buy them late from a garden centre or something. And maybe if I just got any leftovers that we can't quite fit in the polytunnel, they can just go in here. And then this is our composting structure, which is set up, which is going to be for a big load of manure. So it's got nothing in at the moment. So let's start at the end of our plot 4. This is the plot that we've had the longest. I think it was 2004 or 2005 that we got this plot. So we've had this quite a long time. One of the jobs that I did do this year was try to rearrange a lot of the flower border, because there were a lot of some plants that clump in large clumps really, and we've got a few of them on there in the middle, but there were some that were really taking over this end. So what I've done is got all of that out as much as I can and put a lot of new perennials in at that side and also at that side. So that's why it looks like a bit more established plant border in the middle and then a little bit thinner at the edges. We actually used a lot of these plants to start building a little bit of a flower bed, a communal flower bed over there, which is actually doing all right. And look at these opening in the sun. It's one of my favourites actually, a Livingston Daisy. So a lot of this needs a bit of a hoe around on here, but not too bad. It's been very, very dry for us. We haven't really had any rain for at least 3 weeks, probably more. So the whole plot's pretty dry. So we've got another composting structure here, which will be for the manure to stack. And then if we look at these smaller beds, that's just my chives, mainly for the bees really, those. So we've got giant onions here, which are looking really good actually. I put these little supports around them that are meant to stop the leaves falling over, but I think they're a bit big. They're not necessarily doing the job, but they're looking okay at the moment. So I'm not looking to get massive onions like competition style onions. I just want to see if they do grow bigger than the normal types of onions, and the plants themselves are bigger, so that's good. We've got a herb bed here, so that's got coriander and parsley in, and then a space for some little basil plants. I'll trial a few outside. We had loads of shallots left over from last year, so I've planted a lot of shallots, and these are doing really well. So if you look at each one, you can see each one will have like a number of different shallots in. So this full bed is shallots. You can see the back of the flower border there. All those things in little bags there are actually sort of log wooden edging, which I got recycled, which I'm going to use on the communal flower border to make it look a bit nice. That's why they're all just hanging around there at the moment. We have got a giant cabbage here, which looks like it's alive, so that's good, in this whole bed. So again, this is just a bit of fun just to see what happens with how big it gets. Apparently it can grow to 120 pounds, but I doubt we'll get that on ours. Just a bit of fun really. And then we've got some more shallots here, similar to the other ones. And then we've got onions. So these are a mixture of normal onions and some giant ones. The giant ones are to this side and the normal ones are to that side, and then some spring onions at the end. We've got a carrot bed here, and you know, this is not actually doing the best. I mean, there are carrots in it. Last few years we have been using this predominantly as a carrot bed over and over again for probably about 5 or 6 years, and it's not that it's full of disease. We don't really get any carrot fly because you can see it's pretty well covered up and netted in. It's just that germination just seems to be really poor in there, so I don't know if it is slugs that are eating them or what it is, because where we've sowed carrots elsewhere we've got decent germination with the same seeds. So I do need to weed out in here. So this has been really messed up. This has not been weeded for about 6 weeks. That's why you can see a lot of little weeds. You can see there are carrots in between it. It's just, it's not exactly going to be the fullest carrot bed ever. So we're not sure whether we might take this bed apart at the end of this year. You can see it's not full up anyway. So just probably take the edges off and then just use it as a normal bed. And then we can repurpose some of these frame lids and make them a bit more secure and repurpose them elsewhere. The benefit of having this bed does mean that I can attach on some really sturdy structures to get some nice sunflowers. So I do tend to grow sunflowers on this bit. That's what those tree poles are for, to hold in the sunflowers. So there are a couple of small sunflowers growing there. We've then got a number of different brassicas in here. So this is mainly cauliflowers, broccoli and a few cabbages at the end. Unfortunately, that one seems to be going to seed, which is a bit annoying. So I've not weeded in here since we planted it, which is probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So because I've got to take all the covers off, it's a bit of a pain. So we'll do that this weekend, pull out those sort of small little weeds. These are winter squash and some small carving type pumpkins. So they'll probably spread it everywhere, to be honest, but you know, that's how it is. They're growing quite well. We've got potatoes and broad beans in this bed. We grow all our potatoes in tubs, and if you look on the YouTube channel, there's a video of us harvesting from the tubs and also another video explaining our method, which some of you might find quite interesting. So there is on here, so this is Brussels in the background and the larger one. Kale, so they're mainly dwarf kale, and then some larger Cavolo Nero type kale at the back there. And these are just overspill of some of the beans that we got for drying, so I plugged the gaps there. We've then got 2 climbing bean archers with smaller beans at the front that are dwarf beans. So they are Balotti beans and various other dwarf beans, mainly for eating green, and there's some dwarf runner beans as well, so they're mainly the fresh eating ones. And then there's a few more here which are different dwarf beans, some for drying and some not. And then at the back here is the main bean we tend to grow, which is Cobra, which is a green pencil bean. And then on this back section, so we've just got the one row here of Cobra, and then this was just like the overspill. So this is all different random things. So it's got a few extra butter beans and a few different types of drying beans on this side, because we just decided we weren't going to grow the 2 full rows of the A-frame of the pencil beans, because you just get too many and it goes crazy and you just can't eat them all. So we just did the one side, and the other side's a bit of an overflow. So when they get to the top, I'll pinch the tops out, so they keep semi-separate, I guess. We've then got a cabbage bed. So these are all different types of cabbages, red cabbages. There's a few more giant cabbages in the middle, and then on the back are summer green cabbages. We've got a few more squash here. So these are butternut type squashes in the main. So these are ones that climb really well. So they will climb up this frame. And I put a couple extra just direct in there, you can see, that have come through on the back. So we'll see how well that works. And another load of potatoes in tubs there, looking really healthy. We've then got 2 tubs full of carrots. This actually had pretty good germination, so I'm going to have a quick look. I haven't looked in there here for ages, so fingers crossed there's something in here. There you go. That's more like it, isn't it, for carrots? So they need a bit of water, actually. I'll do that tomorrow. So these are covered because of the carrot fly. So that's just like a thick type fleece, which will let the light through. Behind here we've got 2 mainly asparagus beds. So that one is a couple of years old, and then this one is newer, so you can see they're only just coming through. And then just to fill the space on this side, there is some rainbow chard. We've never been like massive fans of that in the past, but I'm just hoping to try it again and see if I've changed my mind. And also, if we don't, the chickens love that sort of stuff, so that will get used anyway. Got a big bed of rhubarb, which is now doing well. Again, it needs the water really, so if we get some rain, that will really go absolutely crazy. Just behind here, this is Dahlias. So this full border that goes along here with the frame structure we put in are all different types of Dahlias for cutting. We do have quite a lot of different flowers on the main plot, just because we've got quite a bit of space, so we can afford to use it for things to make it look quite pretty as well. The really rigorous frame structure was put up just to try and keep the Dahlias well supported. So fingers crossed that will work well this year, because that little black frame in the middle was brilliant on that Dahlia. So in some ways it's built in a very similar type shape, so we're hoping that that will work to support them, meaning we're not spending half the time putting canes in and trying to tie things together when they're already flopping over, because it's a nightmare and you never do it well. So fingers crossed that will work and can stay in as a bit of a more permanent structure. We've got the garlic here that is just about ready for harvesting. That is looking really, really good. So I'm really pleased with that. And I have just intercropped in between with some beetroot seeds. So when I harvest that garlic, what I'll do is where the garlic has been, I will then sow a few more beetroot seeds. That will become a beetroot bed. And then just to the right of that, we've got lavender, and they are some just little tiny dwarf sunflowers to fill the space. Grown in a tub here, we've got some Jerusalem artichokes. I'm not a massive fan of them. They're the most amazing things to eat, but they are really architecturally a really interesting plant, and they're really pretty. The problem we found with them, they were actually on plot 5B, and it was very difficult. It took a lot of multiple digging times to get them out. They are very, very invasive plants. So if you want to grow Jerusalem artichokes, growing them in a tub like this can work quite well. That is a 100-litre tub, so it's big. And on the bottom, we've just got a little saucer. Because the plants get so big, they really evaporate a lot of water out in the day. So you want to make sure that they've got a bit of a reservoir really if they're going to survive, or you just get like really droopy sunflower type plants. This is the Bramley apple tree, which is one of the only thing that was on the plot that we actually kept originally when we took this plot on. It's a crazy tree, and it has like honestly an insane yield of apples on it. So that's we have actually pruned this down, which I was just saying to Anthony earlier, like it's amazing really, because I thought I pruned quite a lot off this, but it's still a complete beast. Some sunflowers which really catch the sun, which grow up on those structures, and these just a few little wildflowers like cornflowers, etc., and a tiny little clematis there, which hopefully should grow up that pole as well. We've got a little pond which I saw a couple of frogs in earlier today, so I was really pleased about that. Obviously I put some plants in like that lily and that blue plant, which I don't know what that is, but I got that from somebody else on the ground's got a pond, and it had loads of that in, and the bees were just buzzing around it, so they kindly gave me some of that. So that's really nice, and I'm pleased that we've got some frogs in there. Then we've got this little rock garden, and to be honest I have seen frogs quite a lot in this rock garden. So I think they live underneath these rocks and then sort of come out to sunbathe a bit and then go in for a dip in the pond. So this is mainly like alpine type spring plants that are in there. And then what I've done is just put some cosmos in. So as I prune back the flowers, when they stop flowering, those cosmos will grow up quite tall and be a nice area again throughout summer to attract pollinators. But we do get loads of bees on this all the time. You can see there's one there at the back there buzzing around. They do love these types of plants, so it is really worth putting a bit of space on your plot to put flowers in, because it does attract the pollinators in. These are just little bedding plants, so it should be nice in this area. We've got some more carrots here, and I will put a netting over the top of this bit. They've just come through. A few more bedding plants, which we just need to rearrange where we're going to put them now. They're just on there for ease of watering at the moment whilst they're getting established. And then we've got a little bit of a salad section, so quite a lot of spring onions at various stages. And then there was a load of spinach which we've been eating quite a lot of meals actually. It's just going to seed, so that will need to come out. And then there is some lettuces again that will need eating on this edge. You can see even a few more spring onions in that corner. And then the final bed on here is potatoes. So they're mainly the early potatoes on the left. And so you can see some of these are actually starting to flower a little bit. So we're currently, I think, on week 10 since we planted them. And the early ones you're meant to be able to harvest from week 10 to week 12. So I will let them flower first. I don't think they're quite ready. Maybe check them. I might put my hand in, see if I can feel any potatoes maybe at the weekend, just to see where they are. And then right at the top end of 5B, which you didn't quite look at, we've got another strawberry bed here. This is a little bit more densely planted, so I'm not 100% sure it will do as well as the one over there. So we might need to sort of thin that out. We've got a conference pear tree, which has loads and loads of little pearlets on. That's just a little herb area, really for pollinators, not so much for eating. But I let them just flower and go a bit wild because I like to attract the bees in. And then we've got the tree that Anthony's been looking at grafting different types of eating apple onto an original tree, which was a cooking apple that's there as well, and then just some water buds. So if we now go over and have a look at our final plot, which is 2B, we just need to walk past the back part of 4. So this is our more social area that we use. So we've obviously got a picnic bench, a shaded pergola, which has got lots of flowers on, you see, hanging baskets and such, and some climbing plants. And these ones here, and these should start to climb up the edges. There is actually a little grapevine on here. There it is. Look, it is alive. I'm going to transplant that into the polytunnel, I think. I just put it there because I got it. And a few more different flowers here. So that's our sort of seating area. So if we now go over to 2B, the final half plot. So this is the fruit plot. We did a lot of work on this over this winter. So we've got the polytunnel at the back. We have been planting out in there, so we'll start at that point. It needs a bit of clean because it's getting a lot of stuff dropping off that tree. So I think we need to get a hose on that really and get that cleaned off. There'll be a lot of sap on that, I should think. So if we go in and see what we've done so far, we've got sweet corn that actually looks pretty good. These are some grafted melon plants which are growing well, and the idea is that they're going to climb up and grow over that cube, which is the hotbed really that we will use over winter and for in early spring to start seeds. So at the moment that's just got a few things stacked inside for storage, but the idea is that those melons will grow up over there to cover that structure. On top at the moment there's just some cucumbers and gherkin plants that when they get bigger will be transplanted out into this section here. That's why that's still empty, and there's just some little radishes. We are growing some beans in here, and these are meant to be types of beans that need heat and don't grow necessarily well outside in the UK. So I have tried yard long beans and also lima beans before, and they didn't do amazing without the heat. So we'll see. So they're to go growing up at the back on those sticks. These ones are kidney beans, and on the packet it told me they were dwarf beans, which is why I planted them in there. And then when I came the other day, they were trying to climb everything. So I've had to just ramshackle this structure together, which is probably going to be far from perfect, but at least it's going to stop them sprawling absolutely everywhere because I need that space for the cucumbers. On this side, we've got mainly aubergines and peppers, and some basil plants, and then just some little marigolds at the front for pollinators and to look pretty. We've had a little salad tower in here, which did really well actually at the start. And then unfortunately it's got a little bit too hot in here. I mean, the error we made is it's not really made to be completely vertical. So if you can see the edge on here, obviously when you water it, a lot of the water runs off. So I'm going to fix that by putting a little bit of corrugated plastic that sticks up vertically here. So it's got the water's got something to run into. So therefore that it will be more level like that. I'll do another video and we do that to explain that a bit more clearly. So the spring onions actually look all right on the top. We're not going to be short of spring onions. A lot of the other bits are starting to go to seed, but these pollinators and bees are really enjoying those flowers, which is why I've left them in, and I'm just trying to water them as much as I can. So it's not fully planted up in here yet. We have got some chilies that I need to put in, which I'll put in pots, and then obviously the cucumbers need to go out. We'll put some pots onto part of this path so it's a bit more full, and we need to move a lot of this wood because one of the main jobs we've got this week is we're going to finish off a lot of the outside bit of the summer house to make it look really good, like the corner pieces. So that's what a lot of this wood is used for, but it is causing a bit of shade in here, so I do want to get it out pretty quickly. Oh, there's a bee there, so they're definitely coming in. We've had to open these doors at both sides because it was just so hot here today. And then the rest of this plot is fruit. So we do collect the water off here, which is done okay, going into that IBC, and we will put on an automatic watering system that waters the polytunnel from that IBC. That's the idea, to get set up pretty soon. And then we've got this main area, which is the fruit trees. Again, there's a lot of mare's tail on this area, but you know, it's not too bad if you just keep pulling it out. And there is a bit of comfrey that's coming up, because there was a comfrey patch here, and that's another one that's really difficult to get rid of. So I've put some of it in pots over there. I'm sort of tempted to leave a bit of that and not worry that it's around those trees, because it's really a useful plant anyway. I just don't want it so it's completely out of control. So then on here we've got, this is an apple tree. We've got another little apple tree here. That's a pear tree. We've got a fig tree, which is looking really good. And then that's a cherry tree. and then we've got the fruit cage. And so within the fruit cage we've got quite a lot of different things actually looking really good in there. If we have a quick look at, we won't go inside, we'll just look from the outside. If you see, for example, the gooseberries in there, there's a lot of gooseberries that are really fattening up, and there's also a lot of red currants, if we come here, that are just starting to go red. The back area of this plot is composting. So that's just a little storage shed, which is mainly all the seed trays, just to keep them out of the greenhouse. And that's our 3 main composting area. So this is what we've been stacking so far. It's just been so dry. At the moment we haven't really got enough greens to be able to fill that out. So I need to get a plan together really to increase the amount of greens we've got. This middle section is just more browns that are stacked up to be used. And then this section at the end is actually last year's compost, which is nearly done. Needs a good water really, because it's been so dry, but you can see in there it's quite a lot. It's only full, so there's quite a lot there. So that is 5B. So I hope everybody has enjoyed the tour today. Let us know how you're getting on your own plots. It's always good to see people's pictures. So take care everyone. Bye.